What is going on, everyone? All right, round two of the Democratic debates is finally in the books. Thank goodness. Um, wow, that was another interesting performance. What my main takeaway was the divide between the moderate candidates who have practically no chance versus these progressives is getting wider and wider, and by crowd reaction alone is getting scarier and scarier. Seemed like every time the moderates would say something that actually made some sense, talking about we can't have just an open border and we can't afford Medicare for all, and it would pretty much just piss off a lot of people because 67% roughly of Americans like their health insurance how it is. They're either privately bought or employer given. Insurance through the employer. They like it, and that's one of the main things that Obamacare screwed up was they were trying to make it to where they didn't want you to have private insurance no more. That little thing's not going to work. Americans, I don't know if you noticed, Americans don't really like being forced or told they have to do something. Kind of goes against everything we believe in. Shouldn't be forced to have to do anything, especially by the government. That kind of tyrannical. Don't really care for that. But yeah, there was nothing really that new. A couple of them backtracked on some of the things they may have agreed to during the last debates. I think the way CNN has set these debates up is horrible. They should have definitely, maybe the next election cycle, instead of just the DNC saying we're only gonna work with pretty much legacy left wing media. We're not going to work with anything on the conservative slant or anything like that. Maybe next year, you do let Fox News do one, you let CNN do one, and hell, even let MSNBC do one. How about that? Something like that. Make it a little bit more fair, because I think in 2016, when Fox was doing some of the debates, they did a lot better job. Yeah, so what if the moderators are a little bit tougher on them? They're trying to run for president. They should be tough on them. But yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting and kind of scary. You see the front runners, which are mainly these two you can see in this picture. Uh, I think they're actually starting to try to form a little bit of a coalition between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. I think they would be running mates, and they're kind of backing off on the attacks of each other. You saw that clearly last night. There really wasn't too many. It was mainly the moderates attacking the progressives for their ridiculous, ridiculous and bankrupting policies that would screw over pretty much all Americans while propping up illegal immigrants, oddly enough. Yeah, those two, none of the progressive candidates are really candidates for America, is what I'm seeing. They're kind of candidates for everyone else in the world. They're globalist, and I am not fond of globalists. But I want to get into this article from the Daily Caller because it sums it up way better than I am. I think I'm much too biased and personally have disdain for these people. So let's get into this article. Moderate Democrats make their last stand during a CNN debate. The Democratic the Democratic debate Tuesday night provided or proved to be the last stand for moderates in the party who believe promises of free stuff are a one-way ticket to defeat by President Trump in 2020. Well, Nothing in I've said it a million times. Nothing in life is free. Everything's getting paid for by somebody. And unfortunately, when it comes to the progressives' policies, yeah, we would have to pay so much. Elizabeth Warren refuses to acknowledge that, yes, tax increases would have to go up dramatically, up to threefold for regular citizens. She wants to put this thing on there like only the rich would have to pay extra taxes. Well, that's not going to work. That's not going to work because rich people, like the super rich that you want to tax an ungodly rate, can just leave. They can pack up their businesses and everything and move elsewhere and probably be just fine without paying those incredible taxes. At least, at least Bernie Sanders kind of admits, yeah, taxes for everyone would go up. While Warren, she just says she's going to tax the rich. But back to the story. The debate started more like a sporting event than a political war of words, as CNN introduced each candidate one at a time with a special graphic and a dramatic walkout. There were no questions asked of the candidates before the first break, and CNN instead used that time to present the U.S. colors and a choral rendition of the Star Spangled Banner, during which each candidate stood with their hands over their hearts. All but one, I think, and I can't remember, it was one of the guys. The introduction was an appropriate foreshadowing of the boxing match that played out between moderates and progressives over policy and the larger direction of the Democratic Party. For the moderate Democrats on the stage who are polling at or below 1%, namely former Maryland Representative John Delaney, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, Montana Governor Steve Bullock, former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, and Ohio Representative Tim Ryan. Tuesday's debates was perhaps their last chance to make their case to voters on major issues, which is kind of freaky. It's kind of scary when you think about it. A lot of these guys, they were taking up the more moderate positions, something that I think would be a better route for the Democrats to go down because it speaks to more, realistic Americans. But no, that's not what's gaining so much traction. For the far, what I call the far left, the radical left, the progressives, for them only being 8 to 10% of the party, man, they seem to hold a lot of power, which I don't quite understand. Healthcare. Delaney took up the moderate mantle by using his opening statements to rip Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren for promising free everything, citing Medicare for All as a plan that will help President Donald Trump get reelected. Probably. I mean, among Donald Trump's record, of kind of reducing poverty, making wages go up for everybody. Wages for the black community and Hispanics have gone, not just wages, but jobs in general have gone way up. Way up. Have fun with that, tax cuts across the board, this, that, and the other. And they just want to take all that away because they can't have that type of stuff in their progressive world. You can't, especially a tax cut, that'll be non-existent if any of these progressives get in there. Your taxes is going to go up by about threefold, whether they choose to tell you that or not. Klobuchar made a similar dig at her progressive colleagues, but did not call them out by name, instead touting her own bold ideas that, unlike others on the stage, are grounded in reality. And I like that they keep using this little term, reality, because that's where the progressives are not. They are not in reality. They are in pie in the sky, full socialistic ideas. Yes, the government can pay for everything. Well, the government pays for nothing. Let me remind people that the government pays for nothing. It's the people. That's our money that is paying for everything already. We really can't afford to pay but so much more. There's enough people around America now that already don't like how high taxes are now with Trump tax cuts. Let alone these people get in charge. Then it's, I can't even imagine. CNN followed Delaney's lead, kicking off the debate with healthcare discussion and asking Senator Bernie Sanders, whose Medicare for All plan would eliminate private insurance, cover illegal immigrants, and raise taxes on the middle class, how he responds to Delaney's criticisms. "You're wrong," Sanders pointedly replied to cheers. Delaney refused to back down against the self-avowed Democratic Socialist, warning that the Democrats cannot be the party of subtraction by refusing to allow Americans the choice of having private insurance. Well, good on you, Delaney. I kind of agree with you there. Americans should have the choice. I don't think the government should provide health care to anybody, to be honest, unless, I don't know, it's very difficult. I understand seniors who have paid into Social Security and all this stuff, this, that, and the other. They should probably have their health care free once they're retired and whatnot. I get that. I can understand something like that. But like I said, nothing's free. Someone's got to pay for everything. Putting it on the shoulders of one class of people or one group of people just isn't going to work out. They're running on telling half the country that your insurance is illegal, Delaney asserted. However, his critiques seem to fall on deaf ears, as Warren garnered major applause from the audience when she shot back that only Republicans are the party of taking insurance away from the people. No. Republicans aren't trying to take anything away from the people. They're just trying to tell people, we can't afford to pay for everyone's health care. You got to do that. When did personal responsibility just leave? Just go out the window? Your health is your personal responsibility, in my opinion. I mean, I work out every day. I try to eat properly. I try to be active as much as I possibly can. That's my responsibility. To take care of my body is my responsibility. It's not the government's responsibility. Government should have practically no say over my body. Women argue this all the time when it comes to abortion rights and everything, that the government should keep their hands off. Well, I feel that way about my insurance. The government should keep their hands off my insurance and stay out of that, because that's dealing with my body. That's my responsibility. That seems like a fair argument. I don't know. A lot of people don't like that, but oh well. And it was, like I said, like I've been saying, it's shocking how much the crowds are sitting here and so amped up for these far left progressives. It's scary. It's a bunch of, to me, young dumb people that don't realize that this socialistic type of thing will work. It's never worked. Why do you think it's going to work now? Do you think America is going to do it any better than all these other countries? No, because socialism itself is a failed ideology. It just doesn't work. According to the U.S. Census, 67% of Americans receive health insurance through a private plan, mostly through their employers. Polls show that Americans with plans through their employers overwhelmingly view their coverage favorably, and that more Americans support a public option plan than Medicare for All. Exactly. People like to have choice, and when you take that choice and then make the government dictate what you can and can't do, like I said, Americans don't like being told what they can and can't do, especially by the government. Within reason. Yeah, you can't steal. Yeah, you can't kill people. You can't harm people. That's acceptable. But when it comes to stuff like healthcare, that should be the person's responsibility. And most people do like that. You got to keep the government out of your lives, people. Whatever happened to that sentiment? Big government's not a good thing. And what the progressives are doing is not just big government, it's huge dictatorship like government. Not good. Americans should have the right to make a decision regarding their health care. Hickenlooper, are you? Good on you, Hickenlooper. I have to agree with you there. Ryan agreed that it is untenable for the Democrats to tell those union members that they're going to lose their health care. Yeah, especially the union members, they should be really upset because the union members have to fight and barter and do this, that, and the other to make these agreements with the companies and whatnot. You know, they do their own part. It's kind of the American way. I don't get it. I don't get it. I just don't get the progressives. I don't get them. Meanwhile, Warren refused to admit that her plan would likely require a tax increase on the middle class, something Sanders, at least, admits, instead stating that overall cost would decrease. How? How? I know CNN only gave you like 14, 15 seconds to answer the question, but you never will answer that question anyways, because there's no feasible answer. There's no answer that would actually make sense, because it's nonsense. That's why. Delaney also warned about the consequences of paying Medicare rates for all health care, insisting that many hospitals will close as a result. Yeah, and a lot of doctors have actually came out and said that. A lot of people that work in the hospitals would say we would close. If Medicare for all was implemented, we would close. And that's just one of the things. Like, when it comes to medicine, it dang near has to be capitalistic, because you have to give these doctors and some incentive, you know, and money talks. Money talks. These guys and gals, you know, are going to great lengths, putting themselves in debt from college and this, that, and the other, to get these degrees, to get in these positions to help people and to make good money. And Medicare for all would take their money away. First off, that would just, everything would go to shit. Excuse my language, but I gotta be point blank about it and blunt. Everything would go to shit. Immigration. During last month's debate on NBC, every single Democrat on stage raised their hand when asked if they support free health care for illegal immigrants. Former Housing and Urban Development Director Julian Castro also led the Democrats in a plan to decriminalize illegal border crossings. Open borders is... A nation with no borders is no nation at all. It's a very famous quote, and it's a very poignant quote. Bullock slammed such proposals as detached from people's lives and warned that Democrats will further incentivize illegal immigration and make the current flood of migrants at the southern border even worse. Of course it would. Of course it would. If there's no punishment for coming here illegally, why would the whole world just be like, hey, let's go to America because we can just walk in? They would. Guaranteed. And then we'd have to give them free health care and all this other stuff too. So you would, if these progressive policies got enacted, you would see the complete fiscal degradation, and America would fall apart. America would fall apart at the seams. It's just insane. It's insane that people actually... I don't think people are really thinking about these policies that they're promoting fully. I don't think people are thinking about it fully. People are just hearing it, taking it on face value and saying, yeah, I like the way that sounds. I don't have to pay for something? All right. No, you do have to pay for it still. Whether you're handing them a specific... or paying like a specific bill. No, you don't have to pay any bills because they're going to take it right off your paycheck. I don't get it. I don't get why people don't think about this stuff and actually think about it. They just hear what's being said and say, oh, I like the sound of that, without putting any extra thought into it. Yeah, it's crazy. Ryan agreed with a resounding yes when asked if Sanders' proposal to gift illegal immigrants with health care would incentivize border crossings, arguing, if you want to come in, you should at least ring the doorbell. I don't think you should just at least ring the doorbell either. I think you should go through in your home country, you go to the American consulate, claim or file for asylum, and wait. It's as simple as that. We know for a fact that the majority of illegal immigrants are not asylum seekers. They are financial. They're coming here to seek financial security. They're what is it called? I can't think. I can't think of it. It's like financial immigrants or something, or something like that. You know what I'm trying to say. They're coming here to get a job. That's not covered under asylum. I'm sorry. That's just how it goes. Sanders' Medicare for All proposal is already estimated to cost trillions of dollars over the next decade. And those costs would certainly skyrocket even higher if the plan also applied to more than 11 million illegal immigrants present in the United States. That's a very conservative number. It's in between 11 million and I think 22 million, which is a whole lot of people. I mean, just think if healthcare costs, what, $2 a day for this many illegal aliens. Think about how much that would add up to in a year. And that would just be on illegal immigrants. And that would be if they could get it for $2 a day, which generally is not going to happen too much. Healthcare is a human right. Because he can't say the word, or he can't pronounce an H. So he has to say you. Makes me laugh a little bit, though. That applies to everyone in this country, Sanders responded to criticism of his immigration proposals. No, it doesn't apply to everyone in this country. If you're here illegally and you're not even a citizen, it wouldn't apply to you. At least it shouldn't, because it doesn't make any sense. Alright. And that's what the moderates kept saying. The moderates kept calling out Sanders and Warren and the progressives as a whole, because their policies just don't make any sense. They're not based in reality. Socialism and communism itself's not based in reality. It's just not. The public is with Bullock and Ryan on immigration. Just 33% support insurance for illegal aliens, and 27% support decriminalizing border crossings. Both of those numbers, in my opinion, are way too high. That's unnerving. But there are a lot of people who have been completely brainwashed. Socialism. And all the left-wing media is sitting here saying all conservatives are going to do is just call them all socialists. No, even the moderates. That's not true. I don't call them all socialists. Not at all. And yes, I have seen some people on the right on the news doing just that, but I disagree. I don't think they're all socialist. I think there are quite a few with socialistic ideas, and I do believe there are a couple real socialists. But not all of them. Some of the moderates seemed like they were actually making some sense. The bad thing is they will get no traction. They're not going to get any traction, which is sad for the Democratic Party. But back to the story. The debate quickly turned to the border theme of centrism versus radical liberalism, as the moderates asked the participants to discuss the party's move towards socialism and whether it's an appropriate strategy to defeat Trump. The line of questioning was red meat for the low polling moderates who were itching for a chance to separate themselves from their progressive opponents. However, it also gave the Democrats on stage who embraced socialistic policies to rally the crowd to their side. Don't let extremes give Trump 4 more years, Hickenlooper warned. As Sanders shot back, every credible poll that I've seen has me beating Donald Trump, including the battleground states of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Yeah, remember 2016 what the polls were saying? You can't believe the polls all the time, Democrats. You think you would have learned that lesson by now. And it's still way too early. It's way too early. Sanders also refused to label his health care plan radical, instead stating, "This is what virtually every other country on earth does." Well, that's not true either. And a lot of these countries that he likes to take their ideas, like the Nordic countries, which, in 2016, he was all about them. All about them. And all about calling them socialists, in which they came out and said, hey, stop calling us socialists. We're not socialists. Yes, we have social programs, but we're not socialists. Our economy's capitalistic. Yeah. But their populations are drastically smaller than ours. We have roughly, 331 million citizens. And that's not counting the illegals? Yeah. That's a lot more people than these countries have. These countries are much smaller, so they can actually afford these type of programs. And they also get taxed at like 40 or 50+%. Is that what you want, America? You want 40 or 50% of your paycheck to be gone before you even get it handed to you? I don't think Americans do. Americans kind of like their money. We can't choose a candidate we don't believe in just because we are too scared to do anything else, Warren echoed. Huh. Okay. Ryan brushed aside Sanders' polling, however, noting Hillary Clinton was winning in the polls too. He gets it. He gets it. He doesn't get everything, but he got that. We win when we run on things that make sense, Delaney said of the socialistic trend. Focus on those kitchen table pocketbook issues. I'll say, yeah, he's right on that. He is right on that. Which he knows too much. But Delaney warning teed up Warren for one of her biggest applause lines of the night. I don't understand why anyone goes through the trouble of running for president just to talk about what we can't do. Because it's realistic. Because, you can sit here. Pretty much what I hear from Warren when she said that was, yes, we should be able to pretty much lie to the people to get in power. That was a scary thing for her to say when you break down to the meat of it. But also, that's just my opinion, You may have heard the same thing and got something else from it. I'll allow it. I don't mind. Meanwhile, the Trump campaign is capitalizing on the Democratic Party's move to socialism, telling Americans that Democrats will destroy the economic and manufacturing gains made under the president. That's true. It really would. A majority of the Democrats say that they view socialism favorably. Insane. But capitalism is still far more popular among all Americans, thank God. Climate change. Ay, ay, ay. A number of 2020 Democratic candidates have signed into the new Green Deal, a sweeping plan that makes sweeping changes in the U.S. economy and is estimated to cost American families $70,000 in its first year. That sounds fantastic. It's not realistic, Delaney said of the Green New Deal, while Ryan warned that certain climate plans will harm manufacturing jobs in places like his state of Ohio. Far too many communities are being left behind as we make this transition, Bullock agreed, calling many Democratic proposals on the climate plans that are written for the press releases that will go nowhere else. Yeah, I can agree with that too. In response to those concerns, Sanders called himself the most pro-worker candidate on the stage. Ask his campaign staff that. I had to put that in there. His assertion, however, belies the views of the AFL-CIO, which stands starkly opposed to the Green New Deal. We will not stand by allowing threats to our members' jobs and their families' standard of living go unanswered, Cecil Roberts, president of the United Mine Workers of America, and Lonnie Stevenson, president of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, wrote in March. Other climate proposals beyond the Green New Deal would similarly threaten American workers. Mandating a small increase in renewable energy use leads to substantial increase in electricity prices that mirror the program's increasing stringency over time, the University of Chicago found. The Democrats also battled on issues like free college, which Klobuchar warned would disproportionately assist wealthy students, and reparations, which even Sanders was reluctant to endorse, while Marianne Williamson called for 200 to 500 billion for cash payments to descendant of slaves. Well, Marianne Williamson, even though you may have been the most Googled person, you lost a lot of people on that one, sorry. Williamson herself best summarized the new face of the party, declaring about the moderates on stage, "I wonder why you're Democrats. You seem to think that there's something wrong with using the instruments of government to help people." That right there is another frightening statement. That is something a dictator would say. And I know she's no dictator now. I know Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are no dictators now. But you give them this unbridled power that they truly are craving, and we'll see. That'll be on us if that happens. Indeed, while the moderates urge a step back from the rush to a socialistic America and try to embrace the blue-collar Americans who left the party of Obama to vote for Trump in 2016, a position backed up by nationwide polling and Trump's economic results, their opponents repeatedly beat them into submission with the support of the CNN audience and their higher polling among Democratic primary voters. That's one thing you can take away from these debates, is that it seems like the party, at least the vocal part of the party, is steadily just running further and further left. The moderates are getting squeezed out. The moderate voices are getting squeezed out of the Democrat Party, which I don't know what to say about it. I made a previous video where I said I think this is going to be the end of the two-party system, because the moderates don't seem to have a home in the Democratic Party anymore. Everything's being pushed so far to the left that I feel bad for the moderates, because they're somewhat got 2 feet on the ground. The progressives have their heads in the clouds. They're just dreaming up things that sound real nice, but fiscally wouldn't work and would tear our country apart. But yeah, my personal takeaway on the Democratic debates was the left is fractured. It's going to continue to grow. The fracture is. By the time we're actually at 2020, I don't know what the left's even going to look like. It seems like I'm predicting a Trump win, because, like they said here, the blue-collar Democrats aren't going to vote for socialism. They're just not. They have common sense. They know that these socialistic ideas are gonna just destroy them financially. They're just gonna destroy their families. It's gonna destroy everything that we know and that we hold dear. And the bad thing is, the moderate candidates that are running aren't gonna get it. They're not gonna get propped up. None of these left-wing media companies are really even talking about them, unless they're gonna bash them for them disagreeing with Sanders and Warren and either more progressives. Democratic Party is falling apart before our eyes, and it's not a good thing. Normally, I would probably be happy, but when you think about it in the long term, it's not a good thing. We need the Democratic Party, unfortunately. And we need the moderate Democratic Party, not this progressive Democratic Party that we're seeing become stronger and stronger, or at least louder and louder. It's weird. It's put. Like I said, I wouldn't vote for any of these people. I'm a conservative, and just values wise, these people aren't on the same page. But yeah, I'd love to hear your comments. If you watch the debate and you see it differently than I see it, let me know how you see it. Let me know how you interpreted everything. If you didn't watch it and you're hearing about it for the first time, I'd love to hear your views on it too. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. I will catch you on the flip side.